Welcome everybody, it's Lewpac here, back with another Albion Online Meta Snapshot video for you. Now you may have noticed that there hasn't been many uploads on the channel recently, so I'm just going to have a quick moment to explain that to you guys. Unfortunately, Cade Games, the guy who's doing all the editing for the channel, he's just found himself super busy with his own channel and real life and other stuff. So he's been unable to do the editing work for me, so I'm actually learning to edit and do the Sony Vega stuff myself from scratch, which is taking a little bit of time. But I will be immediately getting back to uploading videos as soon as possible. Please, obviously, bear with me if the editing quality isn't as good at first. I am brand new to this, so I hope it's not too appalling initially, but obviously I plan to get better. On top of that, I was very, very busy because I was actually getting married, or I got married about 2 weeks ago now, to my wife Karen. So obviously it was quite a busy month in the build up to it, and we were going away on honeymoon tomorrow. So you know, there's been a lot of things going on IRL as well as with the YouTube side of things. So there hasn't been an update for a little while, but hopefully we'll be back on schedule. I'm away from now until Friday on my honeymoon, and then I should be back. I've got a couple of hardcore expedition videos to bring you. This will be obviously October's Meta Snapshot, and then will be due November's Meta Snapshot in not too much time. I'll probably do that around the middle of the month, hoping to get some more GVG content and other bits and bobs coming, you know, for faction warfare, the upcoming Nimue patch and stuff like that. But that's what's going on with me. I hope everybody's doing good, and thank you so much for sticking with my little YouTube channel here. I do appreciate the support. Anyway, onwards with the Meta Snapshot, where we take a monthly look at the 5v5 meta inside Albion Online. You may have noticed the title of this month's Meta Snapshot is Holy Moly, and that is because we've been talking about it for a while, having a meta where both types of healing staff are represented, and by golly, I think we finally got it. So we'll talk about healers first, and we are seeing Holy back in a big way. In the background, you'll see a couple of GVGs from throughout the month, so you can see the sort of things people are using. And we are currently in what I would describe as one of the greatest metas Albion has ever seen, in my opinion. So we'll talk healing staffs first, because that's the big story. The Fallen staff has just come online in a big way. The salvation, the big sacrificial well thing that they drop, the big reset ability, is just absolutely phenomenal for team fighting. If you can get your team inside that, especially when combined with that Judicator bubble, they could just reset like from a quarter HP to full and get back in the fight. It's absolutely awesome. On top of that, the Holy Orb that was the ultimate ability of the Relic Holy Staff has actually been moved to the W slot. So they actually have a really good W as well. So those two big AoE heals combined make the Holy super powerful for resetting. It's got a lot of output potential. Obviously the Holy Orb is a skill shot, so there is a bit of a skill ceiling in place for it. So I think Holy's in a really good place right now and offers a lot of options. And even if you don't like the Holy Orb, there are other options on the W slot that help. But it's super, super powerful. I've also seen some people using the Relic Staff with that new bouncing Celestial Orb. But in my opinion, it doesn't offer the consistency of the Fallen Staff. Now, Holy still has its weaknesses. It's very vulnerable to quarterstaff players, be it like an interrupts. It's very vulnerable to being stunned due to not having an innate cleanse. So you would need either the cleanse cape or the Merc Hood if you want cleanse on that character. And they can be very vulnerable to displacement. As such, we're seeing a lot of Night Helms in play, not just on healers, but often on Bruisers. And before teams use that Fallen Staff reset, they're tending to get Night's Helm on as many people as possible to A, stop the reset being cancelled, and B, stop people being knocked out. The hard counter obviously being to knock people out of the Fallen Staff reset so that they don't get it, and then push the advantage from there. Nature Staff, then, we are still seeing the Druidic Staff played by a lot of people. The Druidic Staff is definitely the second choice healer right now. It's definitely still playable. The output is still great. And it also, you know, it offers a lot of healing capacity on the move, whereas the Fallen Staff has to stop every time it wants to cast a spell. So it definitely has its advantages. But with the rise of the Arcane, which we're going to talk about a little bit, a lot of people are running this one-handed Arcane, as well as Mace being a very popular tank, and the Purges being run on the Bruisers with a Fiend's Cowl helmet. Nature really suffers from being removed from your players quite often. So, healers are good. Let's talk tanks then. Right now, again, this is a great meta. We're seeing a lot represented. I would definitely say the top tier choice right now is still Quarterstaff, followed by Mace, and then a little bit behind them is Hammer, but we are seeing Hammers still played. The Great Hammer is the hammer of choice if you're going to go hammers with that big tackle ability. I've seen some one-hand hammer miscallers though, so looking for that hard CC, perhaps forcing healers to start running cleanse again, because the big tackles do a long duration stun on clothies in particular. We're also seeing the Mace line. It's primarily just the heavy Mace that's being played in the Mace line, and that offers purge ability. You know, it offers that big AoE root ability from a large distance. And actually in the upcoming patch notes, it's been said that it's going to get an even longer new leap ability. That's for upcoming patch notes. There'll probably be a video about the upcoming patch from the NDA test that I'll put out soon, just to let you know what's coming. But the Mace could get very interesting. It is only the Great Mace or the Heavy Mace that's being played right now with that Battle Howl ability, but particularly against Nature, the Mace absolutely excels. Tanks as well are often using those Judicator boots to get that bonus knock-up, because that doesn't count as a stun or a silence or anything like that. It doesn't diminish against your other abilities, so the Judicator boots knock-up, it can be stopped by Knight's Helms though, so you have to watch your timings on it, but Judy boots still a very popular choice. Hellion shoes for that swap are also very, very good. We're seeing a few people using those. Sorry, Fiend sandals for the swap, rather. Hellion shoes, Mark of Sacrifice, is being used on Bruisers a fair bit. The helm of choice is quite interesting though. We are still seeing some demon helms to silence healers. One of the big things that we're seeing though is the generic cloth helms being used by tanks, and actually opting for that innate force field ability that knocks everybody back. And this is how tanks that aren't Quarterstaffs are looking to counter the Fallen Staff. They try and get in the middle with their leap or their Judy boots, and then they knock everybody back with the cloth helm so that they don't get the reset. Quarterstaffs are probably the biggest variety weapon right now. We're still seeing the Ironclad with that mass displacement. We're still seeing people run that Staff of Balance, which has never ever really been in a bad spot. It got nerfed and it's still playable. Gives you an idea really of how powerful it was back in the day. But interestingly, the new Black Monk Staff ability on the E slot has made it C-play in GVGs. So we're seeing a few of them out there. For those of you who haven't followed the patch notes, the new ability on the Black Monk Staff is the tank throws the staff into an area, it spins around stationary, doing damage, stacking up slow, and stacking up a damage output debuff on your targets. So it's a great way to control the fight. You can slow people in chokes, deny chokes. You can put it on top of clump DPS and severely limit their damage output, which means that your team will start to win the DPS momentum in the fight. I don't think it's as good as the other two. I definitely think it's great in the right hands, but I still think, you know, a well-played Ironclad or Staff of Balance can just absolutely win fights. I still think we haven't quite reached the full potential with the Black Monk Staff yet, though, because people haven't really been, you know, using it for very long. So we'll see what happens in a month and if it's still played, but expect to see Quarterstaffs all over the place, especially with the Fallen Staff being so popular. Quarterstaffs might be the tank weapon of choice for the coming month. So we better talk about Bruisers then. And once again, what a great meta. Everything is being represented. We've got axes in there. We're seeing soldier armor axes still very popular. A few people are running the Hellion jacket now for their lifesteal. Some people are still using that mercenary jacket. But again, you know, those leather jackets that rely on the lifesteal, they're very vulnerable to the amount of purges in the current meta from Arcanes, Maces, Fiends, Cows, stuff like that. They can be very vulnerable, whereas the soldier's armor, at least you've still got the extra defensive of plate. We're seeing infernal scythes, bear paws, and halberds all played. A few people were experimenting with the great axe after it got a slight buff in one of the previous balance passes, but that quickly died out. But the infernal scythe, especially with the judicator boot sort of chain knockup that a lot of teams are playing, is very, very popular right now. We're seeing it on a number of people. Swords are back with the new Iron Will generating a heroic charge, and also the new sword passive generating heroic charges. Stacking up swords has never been easier. Even in this purge heavy meta, you can still get to 3 stacks very, very quickly. So we are seeing Clarence and Galatines back in a big way. No sign of the carving sword, a weapon which I actually rate quite highly. But yeah, it's good to see swords getting some love. And actually, a big high-spec Galantine can be a real pain if it gets off on your team. We're seeing some teams in the game having real success with the Galantine swords right now. Absolutely making it work for them. Daggers are still here as well. Daggers are absolutely fine right now. They've got that big execute potential. They don't, in my opinion, offer as much to the ongoing fight, but that threat of the dagger to literally just delete you the second you go into execute range using that Mortal Agony execute combo, plus the added mobility for things like back caps, is making the Bloodletter very, very popular. Still a bit of Deathgither action, but not a lot. But those are the 2 daggers that are actually seeing play right now. None of the non-artifact daggers are particularly seeing much action. The Black Hands still hasn't really found a place in the 5v5 meta. Very popular in 2v2s, but not quite offering enough right now. So, onto the spears then, and spears are still getting some love. Trinity Spear is seeing a lot of play, a weapon that I've always rated very highly, with that big AoE dunk that buffs your whole team's movement speed, attack speed, and cast speed. I'm seeing a few people still running the glaive. The Mage Sandal cheesy glaive flick combo doesn't seem to be as popular right now because you've generally, you've got things like an Ironclad for your displacement, so the glaive isn't doing crazy work. But the Trinity Spear is definitely still being played. Nothing else really. I think it's Team Casualty actually have been rocking a Soldier's Armor Heron Spear in one of their DPS slots, combining it with the Royal Helm for some seriously good lockdown potential. It's not quite top tier, but it definitely can work. So maybe we see more Heron Spear across the meta in the coming month. But again, once it's settled with the new balance patches, we'll probably see as we get deep into Season 4, what the meta is. But what's great is every weapon line is being represented. Obviously, not every weapon is going to be for 5v5 because you have to have weapons for ganking, gathering, 2v2s, 1v1s. There's got to be different weapons for different situations, ZVZs, etc. So it's just nice to have every weapon line playable. So even if you have, say, a ganking weapon, you still in that tree have a viable 5v5 weapon. And so far, everything's being played. So finally, we get to talk about the ranged DPSs. So we'll talk comps first. Most comps now are running either the 2-2-1. So there's got 2 frontline, 2 backline, and the healer. Or the 3-1-2 with a single backline, or the 3-1-1, sorry, with a single backline and the healer. Double backline DPS with something like a Frost, Crossbow, Arcane, Fire. You know, any combination of those two, really. The Great Frost is still one of the most popular weapons, offering amazing mobility, great damage output, slowing for the Bruisers to help secure kills, and a big instant cast AoE dump. The Great Frost is probably still the top tier weapon. Frost Staff's in, you know, a good percentage of GVGs right now, in my opinion. And the Great Frost, again, is the weapon of choice. Since some people actually trying Icicle in GVGs once again. Back in beta, we had this period of Plate Icicle, doing some crazy CC work, actually Plate Frost tanks. But for now, it's just the Great Frost. The big surprise of the meta then, I mean, it's taken a few buffs to get there, but we are seeing Arcane. Arcane is invading the meta in a big way, particularly the one-hand Arcane, with that 15-second cooldown Arcane Orb that purges and silences. It is a skill shot, but it hits in an AoE. It's great against nature. It's great against the soldiers' armors that we're seeing. It's great against Obsessive Burst, Merc Jackets, Hellion Jackets. It just offers so much. You can silence healers during a cast. You can purge Obsessive Burst off of the DPS, Everlasting Spirit off people that are trying to survive. It's in a great way right now. Arcane is proving very popular, and most people are trying to get an Arcane in their comp. We've even seen some people running 2 Arcanes. The Frazzle ability on the W, that raw damage amplifier, it's not an armor debuff, it's a raw damage amp. So if you combine that with other armor debuffs, you can potentially go beyond the normal capacity for damage amplification. They can strip tanks down in seconds. High spec Arcanes can demolish any target. It is insane. So Focus Fire, Arcane with another DPS to follow up is really the flavor of the month right now, and a lot of people are re-rolling in that direction. So don't be surprised when they turn up in a GVG near you. Fire then. Fire's still, of the played DPS, I would say Fire is probably the lowest tier choice. With the Firewall ability is so good that it keeps Fire relevant. But because a lot of people are running Knight's Helms, the displacement immunity of Knight's Helm also makes you immune to fear. So it's worth noting that the Knight's Helm is making Fire Staffs worse in a way, because people are running it to counter Ironclads and to help their reset, but inadvertently they're also countering Firewall. A good Fire can still make a big difference in fights, but I would say that out of the DPS that are actually seeing play, Fire is the least desirable, but it still definitely offers a huge damage output and is very playable. I've seen a few Fire Mages experimenting with the Infernal Staff. Now that Contagious Fire ability, obviously bouncing on the same target, seems like it would be good, because when they gather up to reset from a Fallen, they're going to hit each other with Contagious Fire. That's good in theory. However, even at 400 spec, the damage output of Contagious Fire is just so bad that it really isn't a factor. It's not great at all. So, I mean, there is definitely still viable Fire. The one-hand Fire, the Great Fire are both still pretty good. But the other DPS choices might be a little bit better right now. Crossbows, we've seen the Heavy Crossbow actually slipping back into the meta. That Sweeping Bolt Interrupt can be used from a long range for the purpose of interrupting healers, securing kills, or just hitting the target that's frazzled as they get further out of range. So, Heavy Crossbow seeing play, Bolt Casters are seeing play for that insane single target burst. The one-hand crossbow still seeing play. We've even seen some Weeping Repeaters in GVG as well because of that big damage boost to the landmine. Although Weeping Repeater kind of popped up for a little bit and then sort of disappeared with a whimper. They stick to ZVZs mainly now. But crossbows have a lot of options to use, which is super good to see. And it's probably, you know, it's in the top 3. The top 3 right now are Frost, Arcane, and Crossbow in that order, in my opinion. Followed by Fire. And then, of course, Curse is in there as well. I would put Curse about on the same level of Fire. The Desecrate Root ability is still very, very good. The Dark Matter Orb is very, very good. The Demonic AoE healing reduction seems like it would be good against a Fallen Staff, but Fallen Staff has such a quick cooldown and heals for so much that it really doesn't have that impact. So the Great Curse tends to be the Curse Staff that people are playing. I would say it's around joint fourth with Fire, in my opinion, unless you're fighting against the Nature. If you're fighting against the Nature, then Great Curse suddenly becomes much, much better due to the fact that Area of Decay also removes heal over times. So Curse definitely being played. Unfortunately though, guys, even though we are in the greatest meta of all time, there is one weapon that is not represented, and that is still the bow. The bow just has this weird problem of, they gave it Deadly Shot, which was something that it needed, but Deadly Shot is a channeled Q ability that you spam, and you know, the bow passives are all auto attack based, so they don't synergize well at all. The normal bow, which is my favorite bow to be honest, relies on auto attacking to shred the target, which makes it difficult to do deadly shots. That said, I will give a sneak peek of the upcoming NDA balance changes. They are changing Deadly Shot to an instant cast. It's going to be an instant cast like line damage ability, similar to Sweeping Bolt, but without the interrupt, I imagine. But the fact that it's going to be an instant cast is going to make bows a lot better because of their they rely on auto attacking, so having an instant cast Q doesn't interrupt your auto attacking. So hopefully in the near future bows will see play. The bows I expect us to see are the Whispering Bow and the normal bow. Those are the bows that I expect to see in the 5v5 meta. Obviously the Whispering Bow for the insane poke and long range. The normal bow for just absolutely shredding targets. And that would be the dream, wouldn't it? If bows hit the meta and everything is played, then the balance is amazing. Like, you can never, in a game with this many classes, this many weapon trees, and this many sort of different combos of abilities, it's always going to be very, very hard to make everything playable and to achieve perfect balance. But right now, we're not in a bad place. We're not a million miles away from it, and it's brilliant to see. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this meta snapshot from me, Lewpac. Sorry it's been a while coming. Hopefully there'll be a lot more videos back on track very, very soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a little like on the video if you want, and you can comment below with anything else that you want to see on the YouTube channel and your thoughts on the current meta. I would love to hear them. I don't reply to every comment, but I honestly do read every comment, so fire it down below if you want to have your say. You can always reach out to me on Discord as well if you want to chat about Albion, or you've got ideas for videos. My Discord link is down below, and if you want to go the extra mile, you can always support the channel on Patreon to help me with all the running costs. Right, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.